Hello chess friends and welcome to another game analysis. This time we will see the game from the Grand Prix in Riga, and this is a game between the former world champion Veselin Topalov and the best French player Maxime vachier-lagrave. So this is the rapid game with a time control of 25 minutes for both of them with a 10 seconds increment. So Veselin opens the game with move e4, then Maxime plays c5, and after knight to f3, d6, d4, we are in the main line of Sicilian defense. C capture d4, knight capture d4, and then knight goes to f6, knight to c3, and then a6. This is the Najdorf, and then f3, e6, bishop to e3, b5, and then queen goes to d2. It is clear now that white wants to make a long castle, playing on very sharp and using the d file. So knight goes to d7 and then g4, b4 after that, and the knight is hanging, so knight goes to e2, after that h6, sorry, and then knight goes to f6. And it looks like these two knights are not on a very good squares because black can play move e5 that will create a fork. But in this line, Veselin prepared move knight from f to e6. So this is a very sharp move. Knight goes to e6 that will attack the queen, but e6 is protected from the pawn, so f capture e6, another knight capture on e6, and this queen doesn't have a lot of squares to go because she can choose between square a5 or square e7. If queen goes to e7, then this knight goes to c7, which will attack the king and the rook. So queen can be moved only on the square a5, but after that knight capture on f8, and then when knight capture on f8, queen capture d6. So in this position white sacrificed his piece for 2 pawns, but in return he also is playing with a very good position, and he's playing with a lot of pressure making to the black player. So in this position, for example, if knight goes to d7, then bishop c4, and white is playing with a very big initiative. So after knight to f4 that white played in this position, black did not play e5 with the idea to fork, so he developed bishop on a square b7, and then queen capture on a b4, queen goes to c7, c8, and then queen goes back to square d2. And now Maxime decided to make a fork and play move e5, so knight goes to f5, and then e capture to f4, bishop capture to f4, and this pawn is very weak on the d6 square, so Veselin sacrificed a piece, but d6 is a very weak pawn. So knight goes to e5, and then bishop to e2, protect f3, queen goes to c7, and then long castle for a white and long castle for a black. After that king goes to b1, and then g6, want to kick out the knight from the square f5, and then knight goes back to e3, bishop to e7, and it is time to start attack on the queen side, playing move c4. It is clear that black cannot capture c4, because if he capture, knight can recapture, so that pawn is very well protected. And also white wants to put the rook on c1 and create attack using the c file. So after c4, king goes to b8. It is always a good idea to move the king with this prophylactic move. So rook goes to c1, and then knight capture on e4. So that was the good moment. Maxime realized that he can sacrifice his 2 pieces. So first he captured on e4, and then pawn capture, so bishop capture e4, give a check and attacks the rook. So after king a1, he captured the rook, and then rook captures here. So Maxime sacrificed his 2 pieces for rook and 2 pawns, which is a very good trade for him. But if we count the material right now, we can see that both of them are playing with 5 pawns. But here black is playing with exchange up, so he's playing with the 1 rook. On the other side, white is playing with his light colored bishop, so very good position for black. But in this sharp position, it is not important only to count the material, it is important to recognize the good position and the good squares on the board. So black decided to simplify position, playing the move bishop on a g5, offer bishop for trade, and then knight goes to d5, attacks the queen and also protects the bishop, but bishop capture on f4, and then queen capture f4, and then queen goes to a7 square. So it is time to bring the rook back into the game with the move rook c1. So Maxim also put his rook on the square e8 and then a3, just that prophylactic move to open the king escape. Knight goes to c6 and then bishop to f3. So g5 attacks the queen, queen goes back to g3, and after that queen c5. It is time that Maxim include the queen in this game, so c5 is for now very good square for that queen. Bishop to h1 was played, and then rook to e2. Black wants to start attack on the b2 pawn. So knight to c3 was played. Bishop is under attack, so rook is under attack, so rook goes to e3, and then queen goes back to square g2. So with this bishop and the queen, white wants to make a very big pressure on the knight here. So if this knight is moved, then he threat mate on the square b7. So rook protects the knight with the rook to c8, and then we have knight to d5 attacking the rook on e3. So rook goes to b3 square, and then king a2 one more time attacks the rook. Rook goes back to b7, and white play move b3. After that black play a5. His idea is to play a4, so knight c3 to control square a4, and after that queen goes to e3. We have a rook to c2, and then a queen goes to d3 one more time, making the pressure on the rook. And now black maybe wants to include his rooks in the game, but here white played the move queen to d2, offer queens for trade, and of course black will accept it because he don't want to play complicated kind of position. So just simplify that with trading queens, and then rook to e7, rook capture to d6, and then rook goes to square d8. White need to capture, because if he capture here on the square c6, then black can give a check on d2 and then another check on e1. So he will definitely take material back. So let's see that he can give one check, and white cannot move his king on b1 because black will give another check here, and that will be checkmate after knight d1, sorry. So king goes to a1, and then black will give a check on e1, and after knight goes to b1, he can just take this bishop, and he will very easily win this game with the next move rook d1 and capture the knight on b1. So that did not happen in the game, and after rook goes to d8 offering rooks for trade, then Veselin needs to capture, so he takes the rook, and then knight takes the rook here, and bishop to e4 was played. White just wants to control e5. He don't want to allow black rook to be down and attack the king and pawns from behind. So h5, and then g capture on h5, and then play f5. Sacrifice 2 pawns just to get his rook down and attack the pawns from behind. So bishop capture f5, and then rook f7. So bishop goes to g6, and it is time to give a check and take one of the opponent's pawns. So king b1, rook capture h2, and now he's controlling h5 pawn. Knight goes to e4, attacks the pawn on g5, so g4 was played, and then king c1. After that, knight goes to c6. It is not possible to win this game just with the rook and the pawn, so he needs the knight back into the game. King goes to d1, and then knight d4 attacks the pawn. So he played king to e1, and then knight captured the pawn on b3, and then king goes to f1. We have knight goes back to d4, and now knight goes to g3. We have move king to c7. After that, bishop goes to e4, and then it is time to play knight f3. So c5 was played. White wants to control all the squares here and completely lock the king, but then white gives a check on d2. This check and attack for a bishop. So king goes to g1, and then rook h3 attack the knight. This knight cannot be moved because bishop is hanging, so he play up with his king on g2, protect the knight, and then knight capture on e4. And in this position Veselin resigned the game because he cannot do anything good in this game. So he can just capture on e4, but then black will capture the pawn on h5, and if king goes up to g3, then rook goes to h3, attacks the king, and after king capture, rook capture. So this is a completely winning position for black. And in the position after knight capture on e4, Veselin resigns the game. And that was the game between the former world champion Veselin Topalov and the best French player Maxime vachier-lagrave. I hope you enjoyed this game analysis. If that is true, please let me know that in the comment section below, and see you in the next game analysis. Bye bye.